When I talk about creating a legacy of raving loyal fans, it's really about the side of organic marketing, right? And you're a proponent to this, connections, who we know, how we're referring people, and really building a network of people who support our businesses because they believe in what we're doing and they not only have been touched by it directly or impacted by it directly, but they wholeheartedly believe in the mission.
Today, I'm joined by Katrina Scarlett, a seasoned expert weaving together technology and customer centric hospitality, all the way from the great land of Canada. Katrina takes us on a journey from her roots in luxury resort management to carving out her unique path in business, one that revolves around humanizing the digital experience. Drawing from her rich background in hospitality and tech, Katrina shares her story of transitioning from corporate environments to leveraging her tech skills and hospitality passion to deliver a more meaningful and controlled service in the digital realm. We delve into Katrina's insights on the importance of crafting a memorable online customer experience. She breaks down how businesses, especially in coaching and consulting, can cultivate legacies of loyal fans through organic marketing. Katrina's strategy hinges on understanding and addressing the needs and desires of customers at every touchpoint, whether it's through email automation or high ticket offerings. She emphasizes that despite the automated and transactional nature of online business, the key to creating loyal fans lies in making customers feel both valued and individualized. In our conversation, we explore the practical aspects of Katrina's work, backed by a case study where she helped a coaching business issues like chargebacks, customer dissatisfaction, by realigning their team and processes. Katrina underscores the role of customer-centric approaches in every facet of business, from frontline interactions to back-end operations. Join me and Katrina Scarlett for this enlightening discussion. And welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Hero of the Hour podcast. I'm here today with Katrina Scarlett, and she resides in Canada with her beloved, I want to say, husband and two charming dogs, Rosie and Bailey.
Yes.
She's got a very, very interesting business that I want to find out more about today. But before I get to that, Katrina, just welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mark. I am so honored and humbled to be here with you and so appreciate you having me.
So, getting started, your mission is to humanize the digital capital. I think you help people. Right. So why don't we just start with a question that's always easy to ask is, how did you get started? Where are you right now and where are you going?
Oh man. So my whole background is in hospitality and luxury resort management, to be a bit more specific. And I started out in that arena when I was, 17, maybe, I guess. And ended up finishing my career with JW Marriott as an event manager within their team, and realized that there was just more I wanted to be doing, greater impact. I also wanted to take a bit of control back and, kind of do things at my own pace and see what I could really do outside of a corporation, if you will, as much as I loved my job. And so I set out on kind of, I guess, leveraging my tech skills. So as a sidebar, my father is a program engineer. So
wow, very impressive.
Tech kind of comes naturally and a bit inherently to me. So I tend to often tell people that the tech side is sort of in the DNA, but the hospitality, came about through passion and just has become part of my blood now. And so I started to get myself familiar with the online space and really just saw that there was a great opportunity for me to be of service in a way that I could control. And I could also improve my learning and growth in the online space while providing people with my tech knowledge and skill set, because I learn quickly, I can adapt quickly in that space. And I did that more as like a tech and operations implementer would probably be the best way to kind of articulate what I was doing and helping people set up their systems and manage them. And along the path, one of my clients once said to me that, there's tons of tech implementers out there. They could hire anyone, but they choose to work with me because I had a secret sauce. And my secret sauce was the hospitality and my customer approach. And she had told me that she had never worked with somebody before who came at the online business in terms of tech and setting up systems that was also countering with a customer centric approach and the side of hospitality and asking the bigger questions as to, okay, well, if we do that, how does that improve the customer experience, or does it detract from the customer's experience and overall journey? And so I started to lean into that a bit more because I didn't realize that that was something other people didn't have. It's just so natural to me. And so I started paying more attention, and I really realized that the human element lacks significantly in the online space in so many businesses. It's so transactional. And even in a world where we're so automated and digital, and in some regards focus on funnels and optimization and all those fancy words, we can still put people at the forefront of our business, and we can still make a memorable customer service experience that lets people feel like they're still an individual, even though they're doing business in an online space.
Obviously, that makes perfect sense. How you take technology and you take human interaction and blend them. That is clearly void in many relationships. But I know you have a
Yeah.
commitment to creating legacies for people of loyal fans through this customer experience.
Mhm.
Can you share a couple of key strategies or ideas that people should be thinking about?
Yeah, I think, when I talk about creating a legacy of raving loyal fans, it's really about the side of organic marketing, right? And you're a proponent to this, connections, who we know, how we're referring people, and really building a network of people who support our businesses because they believe in what we're doing, and they not only have been touched by it directly or impacted by it directly, but they wholeheartedly believe in the mission. And that type of belief and trust from our customers allows them to be out there being our best supporters and our best advocates. And they're out there talking about us when they don't even know they're talking about us. They just end up dropping a recommendation in a quick conversation at a coffee shop to maybe somebody they don't even know, because they're so deeply rooted in being an advocate for your business. And so if we can create those legacies of raving loyal fans, it's our best form of marketing, right? We can increase our profit margins when we have an amazing core group of customers behind us, because now we don't necessarily need to leverage ad spend on everything we do. We can invest more in connections, invest more in our existing customer base, so that not only do we continue to take them on a journey with us and provide them with great experiences and products and services, but even when maybe they don't need our services and products anymore, they're still supporting us. They're still telling the world about us, and they're, shouting about us from the rooftop, which is the best form of marketing.
That's what we talked about this morning a little bit.
Right?
It's no that no. I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, so so who are your customers? Who benefits, or
Mhm,
who are the kinds of people, and who are the CEOs that are figuring out how to
mhm.
blend these two things together? Who's the ideal target for you?
So, ideal target really, I would say, is the people who are working in the space of coaching, consulting, and those who are offering digital products. So, those might be people who are doing like template shops and things like that. So, they wouldn't necessarily put themselves in the coaching, consulting perspective, but anyone who is operating a business online where there are these multitude of touch points between, I'll use the dirty word funnels and email lists, and having interactions where, they're emailing your company and you have a VA perhaps that's responding, right? Basically, business is operating predominantly online. Some will still do in person and retreats and things like that. But the online space of coaches and consultants tends to be the area where I work the most, as well as supporting service providers. So I also have people who will have their team members come to me to do training. And so whether it's customer service support, whether it's in learning systems that are customer centric, that are helping them facilitate the business, and also in training other service providers who want to make customer experience a focal point for themselves. So maybe they're an online business manager, maybe they're a director of operations or a marketing coordinator, and they want something else to kind of continue and to grow and develop their skills, and they want to lean more into the customer service side of things. We also work with them to do workshops and trainings and certifications and such to help them advance their careers.
It's that makes it maybe it would be also helpful if you maybe shared a couple of success stories, or how somebody, where they were and they hired you, and then what did things
Mhm.
look like after they went through your process. I think that people would really benefit from hearing that.
Yeah. So, a most recent kind of case study, I'll say, is I was approached by somebody who is in the coaching space, a female business coach, who has already seen a lot of success, already in probably mid six figures in their business, and they were having an issue with kind of chargebacks, refunds, some disgruntled customers. They were starting to kind of see the other side of success, is maybe the a good way to put it. And so they reached out to me. They were referred to me by a common or a mutual connection, and we had a discussion about what things currently look like in terms of the systems, who was on their team, and where maybe gaps were that were creating the chargebacks and the refunds and the disgruntled customers. And so I worked with her for about, I guess it was about 4 month partnership. So she brought me into her business, and we basically dissected everything. She wanted to stop chargebacks and refunds. But my question to her is like, well, what is the root cause of those? If people are doing chargebacks, they're feeling like they're not getting the value of what they were purchasing or what was promised. If people are requesting refunds, that's the same issue, disgruntled customers, et cetera. Like, we need to get to the root of the problem versus just saying, I want to stop them, right? We actually have to know what the cause is. So we kind of dissected everything. And one of the things that was recognized is that one of the team members she had handling customer service was not the right person. So they had brought somebody in who was, for the best term would be to say they were a virtual assistant for them. And so they were really good at tasks. They were really good at, doing day-to-day operations for them, but they were never somebody who had worked in customer service. They were never somebody who had that kind of people approach or even just direct training. They'd never worked in retail, restaurants, anything like that. They ultimately didn't like people. So they had gotten into
Well,
being more of a
coach.
VA and in the online space as kind of, I want to be behind the scenes. I don't want to be customer forward. And in kind of having conversations with her and the team, this person in particular, we realized that we had a bad fit, right? We had somebody in a seat who was contributing to some of the disgruntledness of customers. We had somebody who was not prompt on responses. We had somebody who was easily just like giving people refunds because she didn't want to deal with conflict. She didn't want to deal with the difficult conversations, right? So instead, if somebody reached out and said, "Oh, I didn't like this," she would just refund the money, even though it wasn't necessarily what they were asking for. It was just more of this was feedback. And so that was one area we worked on finding the right person for that role. And we kind of transitioned this person back to being more of a VA, got brought in somebody who was a customer centric service provider or service rep. And then on the other side too, we found a lot of gaps in her operations where they thought things were happening that they weren't. So for example, if you bought her, she was offering a $297 self-study course. If you bought that, you didn't get a welcome email. You got no login details, nothing. You just paid money. And then they were having to follow up with the team to say, "Hey, I purchased this. Where's my access?" Because they hadn't realized that the automation that delivers that access email had been shut off for about 5 months. So we went through and so
Wow.
there was a lot of focus on kind of the one-to-one coaching and consulting she was doing, but she also had a whole side of deliverables and digital products between courses and other resources. But nobody was paying attention to that stuff. And that was the stuff that people were doing chargebacks on, that people were asking for refunds on. And it had just been kind of nobody was owning it. And so there were all these gaps in the customer experience. So in the 4 months, we went and revamped everything. And now we're together for about 4 months. It's probably now been about 6 months since that. And when I talked to her before the holidays, she hadn't had a single chargeback or refund in 3 months' time.
That's a great story. Um, I've read some studies that said it's 17 times easier to sell something to an existing client than it is to a new client. So one of the things
100%.
your firm does is create loyal customer bases on a
Mhm.
digital platform. Do you want to share anything about that? Is there anything that you would love to comment about how you do that?
Yeah, I think so much of it is individualized to the business in question. So I often like to say that we meet the businesses where they're at, in the sense that, some businesses that we end up working with have been in business for years and they already have a ton of systems in place, and they might not be using the right systems for what they need, but they're so attached to them that they haven't been willing to like move a little bit future forward or to simplify or whatever the need might be for them. And other businesses are just maybe in their infancy and they want to start off on the right foot because they've maybe seen poor examples that they don't want to emulate. And so when it comes to helping them create the legacy of raving loyal fans, it starts from the very first touch point, right? Because what we have to remember too is that a customer's experience starts with us the first time they learn about our business. So somebody listening to this podcast episode, their customer experience with Scarlett and Co. or with Katrina Scarlett is very likely starting today. However, maybe we work together, maybe we don't, maybe we work together in 6 months' time. And then that's when our transaction of a partnership starts and we get more into a customer journey. But our overall customer experience with a business really does start from the very first moment we hear about a business, because subconsciously we start to register perceptions. We start to pay more attention to something. Like, when you see a car you like and you go and you buy that car and then you see it on the road everywhere, that kind of law of starting to see things and hear about things. So we're forming perceptions and considering whether or not somebody is a right fit for us from the very first moment we start to become aware of them, to then when we start to decide to do business with them, and we move through this whole journey. And all along that way, we need to be focusing as business owners on providing the best experience, the best customer service we possibly can, because today that's what people are starved for. They're starved to feel connection. They're starved to feel like an individual. Leave us face it, everybody knows in most cases, if they're doing business online, that they're coming into a funnel, they're going into an email automation, they're going to get, a weekly automated email or whatever it might be. People are aware of that now. 12 years ago, my mom thought it was the greatest thing in the world when somebody put her name in an email or thanked them for being at a trip at a hotel. Like, she didn't realize the amount of automation that was available, right? Now, the consumer is very savvy to that. The consumer knows that they're in an automation. They know that there is processes and systems that are kind of articulating them through their journey. But to really create those raving loyal fans in the online space, we have to put in touches that allow them to still feel like individuals, that allow them to still feel like they have a personalized journey with us. And it's very possible in the online space, but it takes that customer-centric approach. So when it comes back to the creating legacies of raving loyal fans, it's looking at each individual business, understanding what their customers' needs and desires are, because needs and desires are different. And how do we make sure that we are emphasizing those and emphasizing their experience and their journey at every touch point, right? Not just the high ticket experiences. Like, you've probably experienced this, I'm assuming, or maybe you've heard some stories yourself, Mark, but people will invest a lot of their time, effort, and energy into creating this beautiful white glove customer experience around, say, like a high level retreat or a high level mastermind, right? But their opt-in experience to join their email list, or maybe their like low, kind of mid-range course or whatever they maybe sell at the front side of their, their offers and services, is dismal because they put all the emphasis in the high ticket thing, right? However, if you make the very first thing that somebody has, the very first experience somebody has with you mind blowing and stellar and memorable, it's going to make them crave the next thing, right? So when you reach out to them and say, hey, I'm releasing this book, or I'm releasing this new course, or I'm doing a workshop series, they're a hell yes, because they had such a great initial experience. And then that just trickles through and all along their journey. So
Well,
it's really
well,
making people
that's a
realize that
perfect example of integrating the customer experience with their business strategy. You know,
Mhm,
I also find myself, it has the opposite effect to me, is that that there are a few people that can reach me that way, and they
mhm,
create brand loyalty. Like I
mhm,
want to see their emails, but most
mhm,
of the people I want to unsubscribe, and it also, I don't want to say it pisses me off. That's not the right way, but nothing is more impersonal to me than, Happy Thanksgiving from the blah 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 that they sent out to 48,000 other people, or 12,000. That's like,
mhm.
so. In fact, I find myself annoyed because we get somewhere between, say, 500 and 1,000 emails a day, and it's just another thing I have to do that I have no interest in. And
Yeah.
they're not only not reaching me, they're also annoying me going forward. Like right now, in the U.S., there's elections, happening in 2024.
Yeah.
I must get 100
Oh
emails
my
a day
gosh.
from political candidates. And by the way, it's usually not once a day; it's multiple times a day, and it makes me want to support them less.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that kind of inundation of messaging, right? Especially when it's not personalized, becomes even more heavy for people, and it creates the opposite effect, right? So if we're thinking about somebody who is maybe, in the coaching space, consulting space, if they're maybe promoting something and they're hitting people with, 9 or 10 emails in a span of 5 days, they're probably creating inbox overwhelm for people, and they're disengaging from that messaging. They're disengaging from that experience because they just don't have time for it and it's too much. So thinking about, you know, everything from kind of the customer perspective and how this is going to translate to them, how this is going to make them feel. Like we want, especially if we're talking emails, we want our customers to feel impacted and supported by every single email we send. So, my logic with sending emails is that everything we send out, there has to be value for the reader, right? Because I want, like you said, there's few that you have brand loyalty to that you want to receive their emails. The vast majority you don't. We want to be in that upper echelon, right? We want our emails to be the ones that people open up, but we have to be mindful about what our approach is, and not only like from a delivery standpoint, but what our messaging is, and making sure that people are getting the right message for the right reason at the right time, right? So we can leverage tech for that, right? I can pay attention to what my customers are telling me. And, I like to use the analogy of baked goods. I could ask my customers, do you like donuts? Do you like croissants? Do you like cookies? And I can store that information. And then when I have a new recipe about cookies, I can send that specifically to my cookie people, right? I don't necessarily have to mass message everybody if maybe the specific message I have at a time isn't meant for everybody. But if we're
Right.
not leveraging data, we're not leveraging, segmenting our audiences, then we are just splashing messaging to everybody when we could maybe be more methodical and more intentional. And then that messaging will resonate better with those people that we do narrow down.
You know what I think the magic sauce is, or the secret sauce, where I think what you do is so overlooked, is that people, example, who are going to the coaching business as an example. And I think that's the fastest growing business in the
Mhm,
country at this point. Everybody wants to seem to coach. Is what they don't realize is that 80% of their job is acquiring clients.
mhm,
20% of the job is coaching,
mhm.
and so they become very good, many of them, at the coaching piece, and but the problem is they're coaching no one.
Mhm.
um, and or
Yep.
they're bringing them in and losing them out the back door faster than they're bringing them in.
Yeah.
And so I think, um, I think that's a um, I think that's the thing where people miss. Like they don't realize, it's almost like, when you do business with dentists, they become these world class surgeons, but nobody knows how good they are at dentistry. They don't spend any time working on the customer experience, or at least the
Right.
bad ones don't. and
Yeah.
and they realize whether business is not growing because the patient has no idea whether the work is good or not. They just know how you made them
Right.
feel. And I think what
And
you've done is really bring that to the digital world, which is
mhm,
amazing.
mhm,
How tell us a little bit about your life. I'm I'm in the U.S. I'm a New Yorker with Midwestern sensibilities. I don't know if that means anything to you in Canada. Tell me a little bit. Tell us a little bit about you and your dogs and Kyle. Tell us about it. Kyle, tell us about everything. Tell us a little bit about your life in Canada.
Yeah. Well, I like to tell people I am a fairly typical Canadian. I have had the pleasure, thankfully, though, to have traveled now to I think more than like 36 countries. I think it is now. So, but my home is here in northern. Well, I say northern Ontario, but it's really not that north. But in Muskoka, and we live a pretty quiet life. We are both kind of small town kids, if you will. I've been with Kyle now for coming up on 12 years. We're not officially married, but it's basically that. And we have our two rescue pups, Rosie and Bailey, who are just, the joys of our life and just so much fun and spunk and personality. It's so rewarding they're again, both rescues. So Rosie, we got at about 7 weeks. Bailey, we got at 4 months. They're very different, but they're also very similar. And yeah, we live in an area where we're surrounded by water. We're surrounded by lakes. It's kind of like our version of, in the US, like Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, that kind of very seasonal, area. And we do a lot outdoors. I curl as a typical Canadian. That's what that's my winter hobby is I'm a curler.
That's so cool.
Fit the hat on that for sure. And we are massive, massive Toronto Blue Jay fans. So our world in the summer revolves around baseball. But yeah, we're pretty kind of quiet people. We like the simple life. We don't need a lot, right? But yeah.
I'm a Yankee season ticket holder, and
Oh,
we're New York Ranger fans too. Ranger ticket. So my family and I spent a lot of time at the Garden to watch the Rangers play.
oh
But
man, I've never seen a game there, but it's always been on my list. I would even love to have that accomplishment of going to a ball game at every ballpark and doing one day down the road, having an RV or something and just hitting all the ballparks one year. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Blue Jays playing because that might be hard to coordinate, but that baseball and hockey and just like seeing games like that in those atmospheres in some of the most iconic arenas and stadiums. And man, it's I've been to a few, but not as many as I would like to.
I've never seen the Blue Jays play in Toronto. Oh, excuse me. I did see the Blue Jays play once in Toronto against the Yankees. I actually I flew up for the day with and had a fun night there. And I was in Toronto quite a bit, but I always wanted to go see the Leafs play.
So good.
I've seen them at the Garden many times over the years, but never there. I just would first of all, I just want to thank you. If people want to get a hold of you, you've got a global business, you work in countries over the world. Katrina, how would people get a hold of you?
So if they want to go to our website, scarlettandco.ca/hero-podcast, which I'm sure will be in the notes. If they want to go there is an opportunity for us to work together on one of our packages that we call the CX Strategy Accelerator, which is kind of a short, kind of meant to be a quick burst of customer experience into your business. So it's about a 6-week endeavor together, or a custom customer experience audit by myself on your business. I'm offering your audience as a token of gratitude a 40% discount on that. So if they go over to that page, they'll see how they can connect with me on arranging that. There's also a resource there for 12 customer experience questions that I recommend all business owners ask of themselves to try and understand better what their vision is. So if they want to connect a bit further, get into our community, that would be a great resource for them to kind of jump in at and get some ideas around their own vision for what they really want their customer experience to be in their business. Because I think that's a gap that a lot of business owners have, is that they think about all the processes and procedures and all the products and services they're offering, but they don't take a moment to sit down and discuss with themselves how they want their customers to feel, how they want their customers to talk about them, how they want their customers to interact with their business from more of that experiential side of things.
Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for taking time out of your day.
I so appreciate it.
I know you help a lot of people and continue to do that. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate your time.